Hey everybody, what's up? David Burns with you again. Thanks for joining us for another beekeeping video. Joined with Sherry today.
Hi.
Hey Sherry. Hey, look at this. Wow, a Maryland coffee mug.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, I've been enjoying it. Sent to me by Corey. Thanks a lot, Corey. I appreciate it. And I broke my first one when I spoke out at Maryland. So Corey was so kind to send me a new Maryland coffee mug.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hey, we got some great things planned for you today in this video. We've heard a lot of old wives' tales about beekeeping, and I hear them repeated by many of you. You ask me questions about them, and I'm like, why are they repeating these old wives' tales? And so we're going to talk about these wives' tales, Sherry, and we're going to find out if they're true or not. Are they just old wives' tales? Okay.
So, did you ask me to do this because I'm an old wife?
Of a beekeeper.
I'm an old wife, so I'm going to tell the old wives' tales. Is that what it is?
Well, if that's what you want to think of it as, that's what we'll say. You bet. Yeah.
Okay, I do have a list here.
Oh, good.
So are you ready? It's
I'm
quite
ready.
a bit.
Yeah.
All right, so one that we just talked about this morning earlier was sometimes people think that if they see the bees bringing in pollen, that means they have a queen and everything is okay in that hive.
That's right. A lot of people ask me questions based on their observation of their colony from about 20 yards out. They'll take a video or a picture. Pictures are the worst. They'll take a picture of their hive and say, does this hive look good to you? And I'm like, you know what? No, it looks like it needs a coat of paint. That's all I can tell. So,
It needs a coat of paint.
yeah, I mean, you know, you're seeing bees going in and out doesn't really tell you much about what's going on the inside, right?
Okay.
Just like if you looked at
right.
a person, you can't really tell about their cholesterol.
Yeah, just because I'm bringing in the grocery sacks doesn't mean I'm eating healthier or
Exactly.
everything
Yeah.
is okay in
Yeah.
my house as it should be.
Yes. So if you look at your hive and you see bees going in and out, even when they're carrying pollen in, they could still be queenless.
Okay.
They still might have brood from when the queen laid some eggs before she perished, but no.
And why do you think that got started? Do you think it's because a lot of folks don't want to get in the hive and look for the queen and it's tedious and maybe, you know, maybe they just latch onto that hoping that that is true?
I'd say more than 50% of the time it's probably accurate, but then that's that other percent that it's not accurate. So you just got to go in there and look. But yeah, I think it's an easy way to say, I don't want to open it. I don't want to see what's inside. I can tell by what's going in and out of the front that they're fine, and you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now, along with that one, there's the other old wives' tale that if you have laying workers, so that means you've lost your queen, and a worker has started to lay eggs, that you can actually pick up that super and walk a certain distance and dump them out in the grass, and they won't come back.
Yeah,
is that true?
That's not only an old wives' tale, but that was practiced heavily.
Oh, yeah.
But recent research in the last 10 years proved that that's not accurate at all. There's more than one laying worker. In fact, a strong, healthy colony usually has some laying workers in it, but the bees are just cleaning up the unfertilized eggs. But in the case where you lose your queen and you haven't had any brood or a queen for more than 21 days, the workers are no longer suppressed by the brood pheromone and the queen pheromone, and so the workers can lay eggs, and they do. Since they don't mate, they can lay unfertilized eggs, which are drones. And so what happens is, beekeepers used to say if you took your frames out and shook all the bees 20 yards out, that the laying workers could not fly back in because they're too heavy with eggs.
Oh.
And they can't fly back in.
Okay.
Research shows that laying workers are foragers. So they're out there foraging, flying healthy, and then they come back and lay eggs. So if you shake them out in the yard 20 yards out,
they're just going to come back.
You're going to pick up and fly back in. Yeah, so it's not true at all. It's not worth it.
Okay.
I have a lot of cool ways to deal with laying workers. And I think I teach that in some of my online classes. But laying workers can be dealt with, but it means that you've been without a queen a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one.
Next one.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about swarms.
Okay.
And so here's the first one about swarms, that bees won't sting if they're swarming.
Oh, I see. That's right. I've gone up many times to a swarm, and people in the neighborhood that really don't know bees are, they're just astonished, right? Like all these bees just balled up in a gigantic ball in a
Or they're
tree.
on a car. I've seen those.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen those
Everywhere.
those articles where they're hanging on a car.
And so one of the techniques that I'll do to impress people, I'll actually take my hand and I'll push it all the way through the swarm and pull it out and not get stung.
Okay.
But one time I did it and I got stung. I did. And I didn't let anybody know I was stung, but it was like, ow, 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 all the way in. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a facial expression. So I have been stung many, many times by swarms. By trying to, shake them in a box and all that. So, there's always a possibility of being stung. So no, that's not true. I would say though that it's more true than if you open up a hive that has honey to protect and brood to protect. They're going to be more
more defensive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
Okay, well the next one has to go along with that because it said, because the old wives' tale is that hives will not swarm until they hit about year 3.
Oh, okay. I've heard that. I've heard also similarly, I've heard them say that the first year hive will never swarm. Like if you install your package, that will never swarm that year.
Okay.
And again, that's pretty accurate, except it's not totally true. Anytime a colony becomes very congested, it will swarm. So I've installed plenty of first year packages and tried to keep them in a single deep, and they swarmed on me. Because they're just crowded.
Right.
So whether they're 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, no.
It's
a healthy colony is going to swarm every year. It's a reproductive swarm.
It's reproduction, yeah.
Yep, they'll do that.
Yeah. All right. So another old wives' tale that goes along with that same one is, well, if I just add a honey super, then they won't swarm.
Oh yeah, that's one.
I mean, if they're congested, let's add more boxes.
Exactly. It makes sense. It seems logical. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Never. Adding more space at the top is not really where they're crowded. They're crowded in the brood nest area. And so by adding more and more supers at the top, the problem is down here. There's not enough space to put for the queen to lay, to put pollen and brood and all that resources at the bottom.
Okay, but you still want us to put supers on.
Absolutely, yeah, put supers on. Yeah, but you've got to always be mindful that they're going to get congested in the brood nest area, and that's what is activating the swarm. Another thing, Sherry, people don't realize about swarms while we're on the subject. Some people think that the bees just decide this morning at 10 o'clock that they wanted to swarm. The weather was perfect, and they decided, okay, let's swarm. No, that's been going on for about 3 weeks. Before
Swarming.
Before they swarm, they've been planning it for about 3 weeks. And the beekeeper can pick up on all those signals 3 weeks in advance. So, they have to have a queen cell that's capped over. So a beekeeper can certainly see that before the swarm starts. But they do a lot of things like stop feeding the queen so much. They also don't really forage at all a few days before they swarm. Right. They don't go out for resources.
Right. Right. Okay, well, now that we're in the hive, there's a couple more that go along with it. One of them, for instance, is smoking the bees. That's so many times we hear that, well, you smoke a bee. When you smoke a bee, they think their hive is on fire, so they're going to gorge themselves with as much honey as possible, and then an engorged bee won't sting.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No. I can prove it. Let me go get a bee that's flying back from, foraging with a whole honey crop full of honey.
And see if it doesn't.
And I can make it sting you. No, some people say they can't, bend their abdomen down to sting you because they're too full. That's not true at all. And so that concept makes a lot of sense in theory, and it sounds good. Did you say that they think their hive is on fire?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And so I don't know where bees ever have been educated in the classroom about fires and fires.
Maybe they have that what is that, drop and roll thing in school.
Yeah, maybe
when
maybe so.
Stop, drop, and roll. That's what it is.
Maybe they have tiny
and they learn that
detectors. I don't know, but no.
And they learn that.
Bees don't react that way. So what science has showed us, though, and what's really going on, are the bees communicate through pheromones that they express throughout their body. And these pheromones are absorbed in their sensory gland of their antenna. And so when you smoke the colony, the smoke, small microparticles of the smoke land on their antenna, and now they can't receive the pheromone. They can't distinguish. So it's basically like me and you talking on the cell phone, and then we lose connection. And so when I lose connection, I'm just going to stand still until I can figure out, Sherry?
Right.
Sherry? So the bees are calm when they don't sense the pheromones anymore. That's the only thing that's working with the smoker. And that's why you have to re-smoke them, because they have an antenna gland in their leg, and they take their antenna, put it in that little gland, close it, rake the microparticles off, and now the antenna is really clean and they can receive the pheromones.
Get it again.
So you have to keep smoking them.
All right, so while we're on that subject, it's not exactly an old wives' tale, but there's a lot of people that think you should squirt sugar water on a hive instead of smoke. Where do you land on that?
Yeah, that's a spritzer. That's what we call spritzing and spritz. Don't like it at all.
Why?
Because I read some work that was done on it, I think maybe by Reverend Langstroth, and he said...
Oh, so we're talking...
Way back.
Decades and decades and decades ago, the science was done on it.
Yes, and it actually can start off kind of like, oh, this works really good, and then it shows that it irritates the bees. Yeah.
So you're just making it matter.
Yeah,
eventually.
Yeah, and if you're doing it in the fall, when robbing could happen, you're spraying all the sugar water in the air. Robber bees.
You're enticing robbing.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing that at all. I've tried it, and I don't like it at all. No, it's nothing like smoke at all. I get some people that say, I always spritz my bees, but now they're really aggressive and defensive. Let's go to a smoker. Okay. Smoke them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're still in the hive, and another big old wives' tale is you cannot mix and match wax foundation and plastic foundation in a single super. Okay. Is that true?
Yeah, and a lot of people say wooden frames or plastic frames.
But not both.
That's right. That's not true at all.
Okay.
No. I'm not sure how that got started. Bees will make comb on whatever. They'll make comb without frames in there. Right. And I have almost every one of my colonies has a mixture of plastic foundation, no foundation, wooden frames, plastic frames, and they all look identical. Doesn't make any difference at all. To me, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It never has.
No.
It never has. They fill it both. It doesn't. It just makes no difference.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, now, if there is a difference, or might be a different issue going on that you might need to discover what it is. But we've never, since the 90s, we've never.
No. Plastic foundation, or plastic frames that are 100% plastic all the way around, the side parts, do give a little more hiding places for small hive beetle. And they'll hide down in those crevices of a total plastic frame on the edges. And I don't like that. Oh,
so what happens with those total plastic supers that are on the market now when it comes to small hive beetles?
You mean the box itself? Well, the box probably isn't a problem unless you have little grooves, crevices where the beetles can hide. But the frames are what the issues are.
Well, it's a plastic box and plastic frames.
Yeah.
So
you'd have more beetles.
So I have a lot more beetles.
It's harder to kill them. You're wanting to stab one, and then they go right in a little crevice.
They hide from you.
Yeah, and you can't get to that.
They hide from you.
Yeah.
All right. So here's another question, and that is that, and it's. Again, it's an old wives' tale that bees need some sort of a landing strip, a landing pad before they walk into the hive.
Absolutely. I know. And when we first started our beekeeping business, we really were heavy into manufacturing beekeeping equipment. I think we even made some of those ramps. A hive stand that had the ramp on the front. I still see them today. And they've fallen out of, to me, they've fallen out of being popular. I don't see them as much anymore. Yeah. So the idea was that a bee coming in off the foraging trip, so heavy with pollen and nectar that they can barely make it to the hive.
But they can walk up the ramp.
Yeah, they can make it to the ramp and they just climb up the ramp like they're tired, Not true at all. Okay. In their natural habitat, bees are in a knothole in a tree.
10 feet up or 20 feet up, and they just go right in.
So that's just something to make the beekeeper feel a little better.
A little better. Sometimes they look nice. And some people have certain kind of gardens and certain kind of areas where they're going for an aesthetic.
Yep.
But if you're not needing that aesthetic, there's no reason. It's just another piece of equipment you don't really
And that's
need.
the first one that's sort of rot because it's closer to the ground. It will deteriorate. Really not necessary. No.
All right, so there's another old wives' tale that there's never, ever, 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 ever more than one queen per hive.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of us say that there's, we always say 40,000 bees, one queen, 2,000 drones. But in reality, there's probably a lot more times that there are more than, well, I would say 2 queens in a colony. And the reason you don't see 2 is because when the beekeeper is inspecting the hive, when they see the first one, they're done looking.
Okay.
They would never look again. Why would you? You saw your queen, right? And I've heard it said that it's usually a mother-daughter situation. And, they're that closely related. It'd always be mother and daughter.
Yeah, it wouldn't be mother-son. So.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a stray queen from another colony.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
They would probably see that as a foreign queen and kill it. But
okay.
mother-daughter scenario, a queen kind of got replaced but didn't. And now they're both coexisting. I've seen 2 queens in one hive that were laying eggs. Yeah. So it's...
Anything you got to do to that?
No, I wouldn't do a thing. It just counts your lucky stars.
Okay.
You got twice the laying power. Now you're going to have 4,000 eggs a day. That'd be awesome.
But how long will that last?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. In my scenarios, they didn't last very long, really. I never saw 2 again after that one spotting. So it's hard to say.
But don't be confused. If you happen to see a couple, it may not be like that for very long.
That's right. It's possible.
It's very possible. Oh, here's a good one. That it's called... I might have the word wrong. I think it's called tanging.
That's tanging, yeah.
Where you hit pans with wooden spoons to catch a swarm.
Yep, that's right. That's
and I know I've got a video of you trying that one time.
I did an experiment.
Yeah, we experimented on that. Walked around the house with those big old pans.
Oh man, I beat the heck out of a pan trying to get a swarm to land. And guess what it did?
What?
It just scared it away. It didn't work at all. That was silly.
I've heard that a long time, though, for years. I've heard people. And it probably did work for somebody at some point.
Well, they're going to land anyway. It was a coincidence.
Yeah, and sometimes they actually come back to a hive.
Yeah, without anybody being...
without doing anything. But I suppose if you're standing there banging and it comes back, you're like, woohoo, I did it.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny how we make those assertions that because something happened. Like somebody told me that, cell phones prevent tigers from attacking you.
They do.
And I
have never had a tiger attack me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They said, have you ever had a tiger attack you when you had your cell phone?
Right.
And I'm like, I guess it does work.
It does work.
So it's kind of those things where banging on pot and pans, it really doesn't work. But you see a lot of pictures in old beekeeping books. People did that.
They did.
Oh, yeah.
They really, really did. But we know now that just because we can have an antidote to something, or this happened after we did that, doesn't mean that there's any real correlation there.
No, that's correct.
Not at all. There's just not. Well, there's a couple of old wives' sayings that are kind of interesting.
Okay.
And I like sayings just because I'm that kind of a learner. If you put something to a song, Sherry gets it. That sort of thing. But there's one about swarms, and you'll have to help me out. A swarm in May is
worth a bale of hay,
and a swarm of June is worth a golden spoon.
Silver spoon.
Well, golden sounds better than silver, though.
Yeah, but everybody's kind of born with a silver spoon.
Yeah. But a swarm in July ain't worth a fly. I think is how it goes.
That's how it goes. You got it.
But yet I have people all the time who say, "Oh no, I caught one in August and September, and it made it through the winter, and it was fantastic." So, what do you think about that saying?
I think that saying stands true for me in Illinois. If I catch a swarm in May, it really is going to do well. In June, for me, I can make it do well because I'm going to feed them in the fall. In July, I can make them do well. I can feed them in the fall and boast them up. But left on their own, I could say that the whole idea of the phrase is the sooner you catch a swarm earlier in the year, the better they're able to build up for winter.
It's like a package of bees, isn't it?
Yeah.
You really want a package of bee in April and May. Right. Yeah. You don't want a package of bee pushing into June or in July. There's just not. Would it work?
Maybe.
It could, with a whole lot of maintenance and a lot of good luck. It could work, but
good point.
Sometimes it's better just to let him go and say, I'm populating the feral, community of bees. And it's fine because those will continue to
Yes.
go somewhere and pollinate just like before.
Well,
so
look at it this way.
It's not terrible.
Here in Illinois, our hives swarm in May. So that's when they swarm to get ready for winter. So anything beyond May, they're not
that's a good
they're not
point.
going to do it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And sometimes they're absconding in the fall.
Yeah, that's
And they're
weird.
not
That's weird.
swarming in the fall.
I know, they're just the...
So then you've got a whole different
It's a suicide,
dynamic
yeah.
going on when they're absconding instead of swarming. And if you don't understand the difference, you probably need to take a basic beekeeping class.
Oh yeah, gotta take a class.
So that you
Take a
understand
class.
what you're seeing when you're looking at it.
Yep.
So, there's another saying that says supers high by the 4th of July.
Oh, I thought that was corn. Corn's supposed to be knee-high by the 4th
of July. So you want to get your supers on.
I like that.
By early July, because I do know that I'll have people that will ask me
that's not
way
a bad
into
idea.
August and September and October, should I put another super on?
Oh, they do.
And it's really like, if you don't get them on there,
Yeah.
at least by early July,
Yeah.
you're going to miss that whole,
I'd bump it up
the
to
whole
June.
nectar thing going on.
It kind of depends on where you live in the country, but for us, I really want supers on in June, but
Oh, sure. I mean, at the
at the
latest
latest,
point.
absolutely.
I mean, you may be putting them on in April or May
that's
or
right.
June.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, I like that saying.
Yeah, I like
I'll
that
go
one
with
too.
that.
I like that one. There's a couple of them that are really, really good
Close.
like that.
Pretty accurate.
Really good like that.
I've got one that you didn't mention that I've heard a lot, and it's really interesting, and that is that if there's a major event in your family, you're supposed to go out and tell your bees. That's an old thing that people used to really pass on, and not like, especially if the beekeeper died, somebody has to go out there and tell the bees that the beekeeper passed.
What do you think they thought that?
Oh, there's a lot of history behind it. A lot of people think bees have a connection with, I don't know what, but something that we don't have a connection with. That they kind of blend two worlds together, and they are more, I guess, conscious than we are of things. I don't know. I don't really see the connection, but since I don't understand it, I'm not going to say it's not worthy of truthfulness. But
Oh yeah, that's such a transcendental sort of a thing. But
Kinda
I
is.
can understand,
They're
we're
an
all
animal.
consciously connected to the universe in
Yes.
some way.
Yeah.
So I can understand the thought behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that I would necessarily be the person, once you die, I don't think I'll be the person to go out and tell them.
no, because you're going to die before me.
Well, then you'll have to go out and tell them that I've passed
died?
on. They'll be
Oh.
really sad.
Oh, they would. They just abscond and go somewhere else.
They say, well, you, David, I'm gone.
Just teasing, come back, she's okay. I was lying.
But I can understand that in a certain sense.
Here's what I think.
guess.
Here's what I think. I think it is a therapeutic activity that's the family does. And it makes them feel better to
I think
express
so.
it to the bees.
I-
Maybe
I
that's
think
all it
so.
is. Oh,
I
but
think
it's not
so.
just death. They said you're supposed to, if you have a birth or a marriage, you're supposed to go tell your bees.
Oh,
Yeah. While we're on the subject of talking to your bees, I want you to enter into an experiment with me. I want you to subscribe to my beekeeping channel here, and then I want you to go out to your bees and tell them that you have subscribed to David Burns's beekeeping channel, and let's see if your bees perform better. So just click on subscribe, go tell your bees, and just see if they don't do better.
so
that's
positive things.
Positive things.
So maybe when we're near our bees, we need to practice being
Oh.
positive around the bees.
Oh, no, that's true. If you go out there and you're angry or you're
yeah, and you're
scared,
negative
they can
and-
pick up your hormones or you
Yeah.
you give off those
and
vibrations.
you're throwing things around,
Yeah.
you're kicking things, and
Wow.
you're not going to be on much of a wavelength with those bees
Yeah,
that way.
so if you're having trouble with your bees being maybe too defensive, go out there with a "I just got married" attitude.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll celebrate with you.
yeah.
Don't sting them, you just got married. Wow. Yeah, so those are good kind of folklore things
Yeah.
that people get caught up in. And there's a ton more. Hey, would you do us a favor? Leave a comment below on a wives' tale or some folklores about bees that you have heard that we didn't mention.
Yeah,
And
we
kinda
can
tell
look
us.
into them.
You will look into them.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool stuff. Bees are really quite an amazing creature. And people that are getting into beekeeping, they'll soon realize that there's so much to bees that we don't realize. Well, if you enjoyed our video today, we've got another great video that you're going to enjoy. And it's for this month. It's beekeeping tips for the month of April. And it includes all of you new beginners that are just starting to install your packages or your nucleuses, but it also includes those of you who are coming out of winter with some great colonies. These April tips will help you a lot. Here's a video on how to keep your bees healthy in the month of April. We'll see you next time.
Bye.